Do you want to work for a fast-growing M&A consulting and advisory firm? Then Palmtree is the place to be. Palmtree is a firm that's experienced incredible growth in recent years, even in the midst of the global economic slowdown, and hiring just keeps marching on. If you're currently an employee at a top accounting or advisory firm seeking to break into the M&A industry, or you're a student interested in learning about the M&A lifecycle, consider Palmtree. Join the firm's upward trajectory and help shape the future of M&A advisory. If interested, learn more and apply on the firm's careers page, palmtreellc.com, or you'll find the link in this episode's show notes. Hey, Strategy Simplified. Welcome to this conversation with Frank, an incoming BCG consultant. Recently landed his offer. It's a really insightful conversation. So many gold nuggets for you to take away from. Whether you're 1 week, 1 month, or a year out from any case interviews or kind of consulting prep. So quickly, Frank is a PhD. He's got an amazing story, very unique background, which I'm sure you'll be able to kind of take notes of and apply to your own journey. But he shares some great tips about making the most of case interview prep, about how to deal with interview day nerves, about networking, and just a whole lot more. So let's get into it. Before you do, to quickly pause this episode and leave us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. It helps podcast out of 10. All right, let's get into this episode with Frank. Frank, welcome to Strategy Simplified. Really excited to have you here today.
Thank you. It's exciting for me as well. Thanks, Japheth.
Well, let's dive right in. Tell the folks on Strategy Simplified a little bit of an overview of your background, both personal and professional, so we can get to know you a little bit.
Sure. So right now I'm a PhD student in clinical psychology, and I have a bit of a unique background in that professionally, before graduate school and delving into psychology and mental health, which is what I'm really passionate about, I had a career in finance. So I was an investment researcher at a large bank, and I actually majored in economics. And so a bit of a unique background, and in between, I have some research experience in psychology and neuroscience as well. And personally, I grew up in Korea and then in 5 different states in the US. So I have a lot of travel experience living in different cultures. And I think we can talk more about that, but kind of thinking about my next steps, I think consulting is just kind of a perfect segue from combining all these experiences and living in different places. So that's where I'm at.
That's amazing. So you've got the finance background, transitioning into PhD, and I know you've had a number of kind of research roles. So yeah, put it all together, and it's a very unique combo. I know that many folks who are looking to break into consulting sometimes find themselves not knowing how to be able to translate their, non-traditional, atypical experience for consulting. Do you have 1 or 2 keys that you would share for folks, maybe with a similar background such as yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's important to find a consistent narrative and have a thread that really runs through the experiences. And so in my case, even though it might seem like I've done a lot of different things, I was able to kind of find a thread through 2 things. Like, I really like analytical work, which brought me to my econ and finance and investment research role. And then also in my PhD role, I am doing a lot of analytical work, except I'm looking at human behaviors as opposed to what goes on in financial markets. And I always enjoyed working with clients or being in people-facing roles. And that's what I really enjoyed about my past job as a sell-side analyst, constantly interacting with investors and clients. And then in my current role as a PhD student, not only do I get to do research to satisfy my analytical side, but I do a lot of clinical training since I'm a clinical psychologist in training, working with therapy clients and learning to provide psychotherapy. So I think there's always a personal, unique strength that you could find that no one else is going to have, especially for people who have non-traditional backgrounds. And the more I talk to consultants, in the big picture, like you can think of skills that consulting firms seek, put it another way, are kind of like good life skills. And so if you've had interesting life experiences or a like non-traditional background, that probably means you're bringing life skills and thus consulting skills that are going to be applicable and useful and marketable.
I love that take. I think it's the first time I've heard it marketed in that way. So I love that. So you're bringing not only the important analytical skills and the interest in that, but you're pairing that with kind of people skills, which is the latter of that is sometimes a little bit more difficult to find with a focus on academia. So that's awesome. So you landed a BCG consultant offer, by the way, congrats. That's incredible. Something a lot of folks are going for. So I know you put a ton of really, really hard work into this, and I'm excited to unpack that for our audience. But high level, can you summarize kind of what are like the 3 key action steps that you took to land the BCG offer?
Yeah, great question. I think when it comes down to it, there was 3 things. 1, a lot of practice. And 2, reviewing my own practice. And then 3, taking care of myself. That means like getting good sleep and making sure I'm like physically prepared for the interview. So I'll explain. So first with the practice, of course, I did a ton of case prep. And in addition to doing case prep with other candidates and getting some help from the coaches at Management Consultant, I did a lot of drills, which I thought that was a great combo because not only was I getting live, regular case prep experience, which really helped me to break down like the nerves when I do it every time. And so first part, it's very important to kind of build a routine and be able to just jump into a case. And for me, it took several weeks of doing case like probably every day. And when I realized there were some weaknesses, then I could fall back on doing drills on my own. And so, for example, I would do framework drills when I realized that my frameworks were getting really long. I beefed up them on the math skills with the math drills, and then I used the exhibit drills, which are quite helpful as well. So definitely get a lot of practice in like with regularity. I think that really helped me. And then second, looking at what I did at the end of the day, like I would review all the practice that I did and really like take notes and internalize all the feedback that I've got and what I could do better. And then finally, with taking care of myself, what I've come to realize is that no matter how much I prep, I'm going to be nervous for the interview. And so the most important thing is for me to be natural enough that I can actually perform in a high pressure situation. So I think that's what helped me the most.
There's a lot of golden nuggets in there to unpack. I feel like we could end the podcast here and it'd be people would take a lot away from it already, but a couple of follow-ups there. So you mentioned the case prep process. A lot of folks are asking, how long do I actually need to prep? Like how many hours? So Frank, do you have a kind of a way to quantify in terms of weeks, months, or hours that you kind of put into the case interview side of things?
Yeah, for me, I think I did about 50 cases. And in that process, I also gave a lot of cases, which was helpful. And in terms of the total prep time, and as I'm sure is the case for most people, I was going at a pace, managing it on top of my duties as a student. So all in all, I spent about 6 months working on it part-time. But I think it really just comes down to the person. But for me, it took a lot of reps initially to go from like understanding the structure to really being comfortable enough that I no longer had to like rely on a hard framework, and just felt like I could get a grasp of it and really try to like empathize with the role of the consultant, if you will. So for me, that came probably at like after like 40 or so cases that I've done.
Okay. That's amazing. I appreciate the thorough response there. You also mentioned that you kind of realized that your frameworks were getting long. You realized, this and that inside the case that maybe needed some correcting. How did you come to those realizations? Was it, a partner or a coach shared some information with you, or was it a self-realization? How did you come to those?
Yeah, definitely a bit of self-awareness and feedback. And
There.
with, say, like the length of my frameworks, it was helpful to use a timer. And so I got in the habit of using a timer when I'm actually doing my own drills, or even in the middle of like case prep that I'm doing. So, and getting feedback from the case coach or the partner that I'm working with was crucial. And it was a good way to validate like some of the assumptions or some of the like hunches I had as I was doing the case, and going like, oh shoot, like I think I was going too long there, or I think I could have been tidier with that framework, something like that. So I would really stress trust your insights with where you could improve, and validate them with your case partner or coach. And I think what I've seen of the case partners that I've worked with is the ones that really pay attention to the feedback and make an effort to correct them, not surprisingly, seem to be the best.
I love that. Well, you were a part of our black belt program. You worked with a coach. Personally, for you, what was the value in having access to coaching for you?
Yeah. There's a number of things, but I would say for me, starting out without any experience with case practice or knowledge of what the interview process looks like, having the structured videos really helped to be able to follow through and understand what are the key things that interviewers look for, and why. And so watching Jenny Ray's videos about each kind of main point of the black belt, and what I think it was broken down into like frameworks and like brainstorming and all these areas that I think gave a really good foundation for understanding what the case interview is about. And on top of that, it was my job to build on it and make it my own, because there's no generic formula for success. And I think everybody gets to bring in their own strengths and their own style to casing. And that's what I got to do with the coaching and with the other candidates I got to meet through the black belt program. And so that was also a great network to be able to have a network of other people who are interested and were actually frankly wonderful people to get to know and to do practice with.
That's awesome. I just want to quickly call out something you mentioned a few minutes ago about kind of taking care of yourself, getting enough sleep, right? I think it's something that's so easy to neglect in the kind of frantic prep season. So I just want to acknowledge that and kind of call that out. And I love what you said, like, I'm going to have nerves anyways. So I might as well, build the skills, get enough reps in that I can still perform even with nerves. I think that's really important. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's still things I can do, like try to get a lot of sleep, try to reduce the nerves, and just, sometimes it's the little things like making sure you don't have a meal that like upsets your stomach, or just, maybe taking a walk before your interview to just get a little bit of like fresh air and to calm yourself, things like that. I think, it's what can make a difference, because we all know ourselves and how we can just like be in a better state, be in a better mood.
Hey, it's Ian with Management Consultant, your favorite go-to gal for anything and everything MC. I'm so excited to share with you today something really special. I don't know if you know this, but I provide 15-minute meetings for candidates who are looking for recruitment support. I can help you strategize and plan out how you're going to navigate through your recruitment season and exactly how MC can help you. In that meeting, we can review your resume and I can provide you some industry insights tailored to your specific background. And maybe, just maybe, I can sprinkle just a little bit of hope in there as well. I'd be excited to connect with you when you're ready to explore personalized coaching support, so feel free to book a meeting with me through the link in the show notes today.
Well, let's quickly go back to black belt for a sec. What are kind of two or three ways you would say that the working with black belt help simplify or even just clarify like your overall recruiting process?
Yeah, so I would say first, getting a kind of the lowdown of the case practice process through the videos, and as well as like videos on like networking and behavioral interview. So I felt like it was a very comprehensive program to for anyone really looking to get into consulting and then to build the skill sets they need. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And then working with coaches who all of them were just fantastic, very attentive, and being able to work with several coaches who bring in their own insights and feedback was immensely helpful.
That's awesome. Well, one more question on a different program from Management Consultant, Strategy Sprint. For folks that don't know, 1 week kind of virtual consulting project with mentorship from an MBB coach. What stood out to you from that project, and how did that really, how did that help you in your quest for this BCG role?
Yeah, so I went into Strategy Sprint really just trying to find out if this is something that I'd want to do, if this is right for me, because I did not have consulting experience, like many people actually do before trying out or interviewing for consulting firms. And so I went in with an open mind, and I was initially nervous as to like how I would do and how I can work with the team. And what it taught me is just how to navigate ambiguity, especially in a team environment. And you get paired up very quickly with your team, meet with them virtually, and you get thrown this real business problem that you have no background in, and you have no data set to rely on like you do in a case interview. So that was really helpful. And also for me, coming from a PhD background, getting a lot of feedback from the consultant who led the project about the consulting approach to problem solving, as opposed to like the more traditional like academic approach that I was familiar with. And so what does it mean to actually lead with a hypothesis, and what does it mean to be more client oriented and solution oriented? And like even the vocabulary is different, and those are some things that I picked up very quickly while working in Strategy Sprint. And I don't think I could have gotten that experience elsewhere. And even though it was virtual, I felt like there were so many touch points within the week, and I was constantly learning from the coach. I was constantly learning from the other people in my team, and we got really close as a result. So it was a good learning experience, and I feel like I definitely improved my kind of high level view of consulting, and it helped me with my case interview as well, because it really helped me to see things from a consultant's perspective better. And case interview process, as grueling and as exciting in some ways it is, you don't get to have that teamwork experience, and I got that through a strategy sprint.
That's awesome. So glad you could be a part of that week. That was a fun project. All right, as we kind of get towards the end of our convo here, got two final questions before we ask a couple of fun personal questions. So first one is, do you have one pro tip on each piece of the recruiting puzzle? And we break that into three pieces: networking, application, and the interview. So if there's one kind of final tip you could leave with aspiring consultants, what would you say to them? We'll be right back after this quick break.
I'm Dan Heath. On the What It's Like to Be podcast, I ask folks about their jobs, like what keeps a TV meteorologist up at night.
When I'm at work and there's a tornado coming into town, my husband and my kids have to get into the tornado shelter without me.
What keeps a welder driven?
I never am satisfied. I always know I can do better.
And what keeps a hairstylist on her toes?
I know she likes that Holly Berry haircut, but she doesn't look like Holly Berry.
Find out on What It's Like to Be, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, it's a good question. So starting with networking, I would say you want to show your genuine self and that you're genuinely interested in the work that the person you're trying to network with is doing. And I mean, I think in some ways, consulting is like the easiest place to be excited about, because there's so many different industries, there's so many different problems that consultants solve. And for me, finding that genuine interest in the work and genuine interest in like the consultant that I'm trying to network with, like as a human being, like trying to do that work and balance it, within their life, I thought was just already like such interesting topic, and getting to know them was always delightful. And so that really helped me to get through networking and to build connections. So just showing genuine interest and like doing some, sometimes it might mean doing some research to find out more about the work that consultant is doing, or to understand some bits and pieces to find what actually interests you about that work. So that's my advice for networking. For resume, and I would say I can't stress enough like the importance of demonstrating quantifiable impact in your resume. And it's something that I had to work on like multiple times over to really let my accomplishments shine in resume. And it might take several rounds of like editing and getting feedback, but you really want to quantify and like show like what is it that you what is the difference you made, what is the impact you made, like what did you accomplish. And I think that's something that I've gotten a lot of help with from Management Consultant. I also was putting a plug in there that as part of the black belt, I was able to get some fantastic resume coaching. In terms of interview, again, I think the important thing is just practicing until like you feel natural. And I don't mean like over practice like in a robotic way, but like if you can practice until you feel natural to the point where being nervous will not get in the way of you performing well and just like being your true self.
Love that, Frank. This has been so valuable. There's a lot of good stuff in this conversation. So thanks for sharing your journey. I know it's going to be a lot of hope to people. Speaking of, you're going to be starting at BCG in the next year or so. Super exciting. Is there one or two things that you're most looking forward to about being able to start full time?
Yeah. I think the two things that I'm most excited about, first is the relationships, and second being seeing the impact of the work. So first, I'm really excited to see and get to know like other motivated, like-minded people and learn from them as colleagues. I think that's really what drew me into consulting, and seeing and getting to know everyone's backgrounds and like, you know, what really motivates them, and also like seeing the amazing accomplishments of other consultants is something that I'm really excited for. And I've heard a lot of great things about the relationships and friendships that consultants build. So certainly that part. And then second, I am really excited about the impact aspect of consulting, and that the kind of scale that consulting firms work in is so incredibly wide, and the amount of impact for me personally, I want to work in healthcare and consulting, and having worked in healthcare investment and then right now working in mental health as a researcher and a clinician, I really look forward to having the kind of impact that I never got to have as a clinician or academic researcher through consulting work in expanding access to care and making resources and technologies in behavioral health and broadly more healthcare across healthcare areas available through my work. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I can't wait for it.
Love it. Can't wait for you to get started on day one. I'm sure it feels like it's a lifetime away. All right. Well, we're gonna end the show with a couple of personal questions, and the first one I'm excited about. You've mentioned your work in mental health. You've been in research for years. What's a finding or a publication or some sort of impact that you've been able to create that's been most kind of personally meaningful to you?
Good. Yeah. It's a good question. So I have a recent publication in topic of sleep and substance use, and basically I designed and ran a study where I looked at working professionals' sleep day to day as they went about their lives, and their as well as their caffeine and alcohol use. And it was the first study of its kind that really looked at this relationship in the real world as opposed to in the lab, and followed people for 6 weeks. And the results were clear that specifically alcohol use reduces quality of sleep, self-reported quality of sleep, by about 4% for every drink of alcoholic beverage. And then for caffeine, every cup of caffeinated beverage reduced sleep quantity by about 10 minutes per each cup. So that was a fascinating finding to validate, like within real world setting. And I think sleep is one of the areas that I'm passionate about, and I think it really kind of shows how impactful the substance can be on reducing quality of sleep, and thus the health effects it has. And so that was a meaningful project, and it was thankfully I was able to make that research finding spread across some of the media channels, and they were able to spread the word and spread the message about the importance of sleep, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, send us the link, and we'll pop it in the show notes so people can read more. That's sure. That's amazing. All right. Well, you've done a lot of travel in your lifetime. You mentioned you've lived in 5 different states. You grew up in Korea, etc. So, what's the next place on your kind of travel bucket list?
Yeah, next place I like to visit is actually Thailand. I've never been, and I've heard a lot of great things, and had a lot of friends from Thailand, and really excited about their culture. And so that's my next destination, and I really look forward to spending time there to really get to know the Thai culture, especially like the Buddhist temples in Thailand, and also the great nature and the food there. So
that sounds amazing. Send us some photos. Yeah. All right, Frank.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on to share your story. Really valuable, really insightful. And we wish you the best of luck at BCG and beyond. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired by Frank's story. Talk about a lot of hard work and dedication to landing this incredible role with an incredible firm. If you'd like to learn more about Black Belt or Strategy Sprint for expert help in your own consulting recruiting journey, links in the show notes to learn more. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.